My neighbor demanded I remove my ugly hedges, or she'd take me to court, so I removed them completely. Those hedges were blocking the view of her backyard from the main road. Now everyone can see her hot tub and her affair. Her husband found out first. My neighbor Diane stood in her driveway at 7:43 p.m. on a Thursday evening, mascara running down her face, bathrobe flapping open in the wind, screaming her husband's name as his silver Audi peeled out doing at least 45 miles per hour. I was watering my front lawn when it happened, just standing there with the hose, watching 15 years of marriage implode in real time. His suitcase was visible in the back seat, the one he'd packed in what must have been record time, maybe 20 minutes from the moment someone at his bowling league mentioned what they'd seen in Diane's backyard to the moment he was gone. She chased the car halfway down the street before giving up, stood there in the middle of the road, shoulders heaving, the kind of crying that doesn't make any sound because there's not enough air. Then she turned around, saw me, and her face transformed from devastation to pure, incandescent rage. She marched across the street barefoot, gravel be damned, until she was standing 6 feet away from me on my own property. Her voice was shaking so badly she could barely get the words out. You did this on purpose. You knew what would happen, and you did it anyway. I turned off the water, set down the hose, looked at the woman who had spent the last 3 months trying to destroy my life over a row of hedges my father planted the summer before he died. I'm sorry, Diane. You wanted them gone, so I removed them. You have to put them back. I'll pay for everything. Please, please, I'm begging you. I looked at the empty space where those hedges used to be. 15 years of growth ripped out in a single Saturday. 8 feet of dense, beautiful privacy that my father had planted with his own hands, positioned perfectly along the property line, protecting both our yards from the main road. Gone now. Just dirt and wood chips. I can't afford to replant 15-year-old hedges, I said. That would cost thousands of dollars. Money I don't have. Money I was going to have to spend fighting your lawsuit. I'll drop the lawsuit. I'll pay you. I'll do anything. You should have thought about that before you threatened me. I walked inside and closed the door. Those hedges had been there since I was 12 years old. My dad planted them the summer of 2008. 3 weekends of backbreaking work in the August heat. I remember helping him dig the holes, 12 of them, spaced exactly 4 feet apart along the property line where our yard met Maple Street, the main road through the neighborhood. He'd researched the species carefully. Leyland cypress, fast-growing and dense, perfect for privacy screening. He'd mixed the soil himself, added fertilizer, positioned each one with a level to make sure the line was perfectly straight. These'll be taller than you by the time you graduate high school, he told me, wiping sweat from his forehead. Taller than me by the time you graduate college. Give this whole yard some privacy from the road. He was right. By 2012, they were 6 feet tall. By 2015, they'd hit 8 feet and filled in so thick you couldn't see through them, even in winter. They blocked the noise from the road, the headlights at night, the endless parade of dog walkers and joggers and families pushing strollers. They also blocked the view of our backyard and the neighbor's backyard from anyone passing by on Maple Street. My dad died in March 2009, 7 months after he planted those hedges. Pancreatic cancer, diagnosed in November, gone by spring. He never got to see them reach their full height, but I did. I watched them grow every year, trimmed them every spring, kept them healthy and strong. They were one of the last things my father built with his own hands, one of the last pieces of him I had left, and Diane wanted them gone. She moved in last April, bought the Henderson place after old Mr. Henderson passed away, and his kids sold the house to settle the estate. I remember the moving truck pulling up, the white BMW that followed it, the woman who stepped out wearing designer sunglasses and looking at the neighborhood like she'd accidentally wandered into the wrong zip code. Diane Morrison, 46 years old, recently divorced from her first husband, newly remarried to a man named Greg, who worked in medical device sales and traveled 3 weeks out of every month. She worked in pharmaceutical sales herself, the kind of job that comes with a company car and an expense account, and an inflated sense of importance. First week, she introduced herself with a bottle of wine and a complaint. Those hedges, she said, pointing at my property line with a manicured nail, they're blocking all the natural sunlight from reaching my rose garden. I'm trying to establish some new plantings back there, and they're just suffocating everything. I nodded politely. They've been there 15 years. I could trim them back a bit if that would help. I was thinking more like removing them entirely. They're not exactly attractive, are they? So overgrown. It brings down the whole aesthetic of the street. I felt something tighten in my chest. I'll think about it. I didn't think about it. Not seriously. Those hedges weren't going anywhere. Second week, Diane came back. No wine this time. I've been doing some research, she said, standing on my porch with her arms crossed. Those hedges are attracting insects. I've seen wasps, beetles, all kinds of things. My husband and I are planning to do a lot of outdoor entertaining this summer, and I can't have bugs swarming around our patio. Hedges don't really attract bugs any more than regular trees, I said. They're actually good for the ecosystem. Birds nest in them, beneficial insects. I don't care about beneficial insects. I care about my outdoor space being usable. Her voice had an edge now. The polite neighbor act was slipping. Those hedges need to go. I appreciate your concerns, Diane, but those hedges have sentimental value to me. My father planted them. I'm not removing them. She stared at me for a long moment. Something cold moved behind her eyes. We'll see about that. Third week, the lawyer's letter arrived. Certified mail, official letterhead from Morrison and Associates, attorneys at law, no relation to Diane, I assumed, though the coincidence felt pointed. 3 pages of legal language demanding I remove my visual nuisance within 30 days or face legal action. The letter cited property value reduction, failure to maintain neighborly standards, obstruction of natural light, and creation of pest habitat. It threatened to pursue damages for emotional distress caused by ongoing aesthetic degradation. I read it 3 times, my hands shaking with anger by the end. Then I called my own lawyer. Michael Chen had handled my father's estate back in 2009 and had been my go-to for legal questions ever since. 16 years of property law experience, calm demeanor, and a tendency to tell you exactly what you needed to hear, whether you wanted to hear it or not. He laughed for about 10 seconds straight when I read him the letter. She's got nothing, he said. Absolutely nothing. Those hedges are on your property, properly maintained, not blocking any traffic sight lines. They're not even close to the maximum height allowed by county ordinance. She can threaten all she wants, but any judge would throw this out in the first hearing. So, I don't have to worry? Michael paused. The pause worried me more than the letter had. Here's the thing, Nathan. She doesn't have to win to hurt you. Even a frivolous lawsuit costs money to fight. My fees, court costs, time off work. If she drags this out, and people like her often do, you're looking at $5,000 to $10,000 just to prove you're right. I don't have $5,000 to $10,000. I know. That's the point. People like Diane use the legal system as a weapon. They know most people can't afford to fight back, so they just give in. I sat in my living room that night, looking out the window at those hedges, 8 feet of green, dense and healthy, swaying slightly in the evening breeze. My father's hands had put them there. His sweat had watered them. His last summer on earth had been spent building something beautiful and lasting. And now, some woman who'd lived next door for 3 weeks wanted to destroy them because they blocked her precious sunlight. The next few weeks were a nightmare. Diane escalated everything. She filed a formal complaint with the HOA. We didn't have an HOA, but she tried anyway. She called the county code enforcement office, claiming my hedges were overgrown and dangerous. The inspector who came out actually complimented me on how well maintained they were. She started a petition among the neighbors, claiming the hedges were bringing down property values. 2 people signed it, Diane and someone named M. Morrison, who I suspected was her husband. She left notes on my car, passive-aggressive messages about being a good neighbor and community standards and thinking about others for once, and she kept threatening the lawsuit. Every few days, another letter from her lawyer, each one slightly more aggressive than the last, each one reminding me of the considerable legal costs I would face if I didn't comply. I tried talking to her directly one more time, knocked on her door on a Saturday morning hoping to reach some kind of compromise. I understand you want more light for your garden, I said when she answered. What if I topped the hedges, brought them down to 6 feet instead of 8? Would that help? She smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. I don't want them shorter, Nathan. I want them gone. Completely gone. And if you don't remove them voluntarily, I'll make sure you spend every penny you have fighting me in court. Those hedges are all I have left of my father. Then I guess you need to decide what matters more, sentimentality or your financial future. She closed the door in my face. I consulted with 2 more attorneys that week. Patricia Reyes, a property law specialist with 22 years of experience, confirmed what Michael had told me. Diane's case had no legal merit whatsoever. But she's clearly willing to weaponize the system, Patricia said. Some people don't care about winning. They just want to hurt you, make you spend money, lose sleep, suffer. It's harassment dressed up in legal language. I asked her what my options were. You can fight, file counter motions, rack up her costs too, make it clear you won't be bullied. But that takes money and time you may not have. Or you can give her what she wants. Remove the hedges. End the conflict. Those hedges are, I know, your father planted them. They're irreplaceable. Patricia's voice was gentle. But sometimes the choice isn't between good and bad. It's between bad and worse. I spent a week thinking about it. Looked at those hedges every morning with my coffee. Thought about my dad. Thought about the money I didn't have. Thought about Diane standing on her porch with her arms crossed, glaring at my property line like it had personally offended her. I thought about what she'd said. I don't want them shorter. I want them gone. And then, somewhere around day 6, I started thinking about something else. Why was she so obsessed with those hedges specifically? Not the trees on the other side of her property, not the fence that ran along the back, just these particular hedges, the ones that ran along Maple Street. I walked the property line, stood on the sidewalk, looked at her backyard from the perspective of someone passing by on the main road, and that's when I saw it. The hot tub. A brand new installation, probably $8,000 minimum, tucked into the corner of her backyard closest to my hedges. From her perspective, it was private. The hedges blocked the view from Maple Street completely, but if the hedges were gone, I started paying attention after that. Noticed the cars that pulled into her driveway on evenings when Greg's Audi was missing. Noticed the lights in the backyard going on around 9 p.m. Noticed noticed the silhouettes visible through the gaps in her fence. 2 figures, not one, climbing into that hot tub. Diane wasn't just using my hedges for privacy, she was using them for cover. I called Michael Chen one more time. If I remove the hedges voluntarily, I asked, does that end her ability to sue me? Technically, yes. She can't sue you for something that no longer exists. She might try to claim damages for the time they were there, but that would be laughed out of court. And I'd have no legal obligation to replace them? None whatsoever. They're your property. You can remove them, keep them, do whatever you want. What if removing them causes problems for her? Michael was quiet for a moment. What kind of problems? Let's say her backyard is currently private because of my hedges. If I remove them, her backyard becomes visible from the street. If she's doing something in that backyard she doesn't want people to see, then that's her problem, not yours. You have no legal duty to provide privacy screening for your neighbor's property. If she wanted privacy, she should have planted her own hedges. I thanked him and hung up. Then I called a landscaping company. Tom's Tree and Landscape Service came out on Saturday. Tom Martinez himself, 31 years in the business, according to his truck, surveyed the hedge line with something like reverence. These are beautiful specimens, he said. Leyland cypress, right? 15 years old at least, perfectly healthy. You sure you want them removed? I'm sure. It seems like a waste. These are mature plants. You can't just buy this at a nursery. It takes 15 years to grow something like this. I know, but I need them gone. Tom shook his head, but he didn't argue further. His crew got to work around 8 a.m. It took them most of the day. Chainsaws, a wood chipper, a small excavator to pull out the root balls. By 4 p.m. that entire property line was bare. Just dirt and wood chips where 15 years of growth used to be. I stood on my porch and watched them load the last of the debris into the truck. My father's hedges, gone, just like that. I told myself it was necessary. Told myself I had no choice, but it still felt like I was ripping something out of my own chest. Then I heard a door slam. Diane had come outside. She was standing on her porch, arms crossed, watching the truck pull away with a satisfied smirk on her face. She waved at me, that little finger wave people do when they think they've won. I waved back. Enjoy your privacy while it lasts, I thought. It took about 72 hours for the neighborhood to notice. The first sign was the post on the Maple Street Community Facebook group. Someone named Carol Hutchins lived 3 houses down, retired elementary school teacher, walked her Labrador retriever past my house twice a day, had posted a carefully worded message. Not sure how to say this, but has anyone else noticed the activities happening in a certain backyard now that the hedges are gone? I'm all for people enjoying their property, but there are children who walk down Maple Street every day, just concerned about community standards. Within an hour, there were 47 comments. Some people were confused, some people were outraged, some people were clearly enjoying the drama and asking pointed questions designed to get Carol to spill more details. By the end of day 1, everyone on the street knew exactly which backyard Carol was talking about and exactly what kind of activities were happening there. Day 2 brought more attention. People started slowing down when they walked or drove past on Maple Street. What used to be a quick glance was now a lingering look. The view into Diane's backyard, and specifically her hot tub, was completely unobstructed. I saw teenagers on bikes doing double takes. I saw a group of moms with strollers stop and whisper to each other, glancing toward Diane's property. I saw Mr. Leo Patterson from down the street walk his dog past the same spot 3 times in one afternoon, each time finding a reason to pause and look. Diane must have noticed because she started keeping her blinds closed, stopped using the hot tub during daylight hours, probably thought she could wait it out until the novelty wore off. She was wrong. Day 3 was the night that changed everything. I was in my living room watching TV around 9:30 p.m. when I heard voices outside. Looked through the window and saw a small crowd gathered on the sidewalk in front of Diane's house. 5 or 6 people, phones out, clearly recording something. I went outside to see what was happening. The backyard lights were on at Diane's place. The hot tub was bubbling, and there were 2 figures in it. One clearly Diane, the other clearly not Greg. Greg drove a silver Audi. The car in Diane's driveway was a black Ford F-150. The man in the hot tub was visible from the street, even in the dark. Broad shoulders, dark hair, definitely not the balding medical device salesman I'd seen coming and going for the past year. Someone in the crowd was live streaming it. Someone else was taking photos. Someone was laughing nervously, saying, oh my God, over and over. Diane must have heard them, because suddenly the lights went off and the figures scrambled out of the tub. The back door slammed. The crowd dispersed, still buzzing with excited whispers. I went back inside. This was going to get worse before it got better. Day 4, the evidence went viral, at least viral by neighborhood standards. The photos and video from the previous night had been shared in a private neighborhood group chat. Someone had screenshotted it and posted it to the public Facebook group. Someone else had identified the man in the hot tub as Kyle Danner, a personal trainer at the gym where Diane worked out. By noon, everyone on Maple Street knew that Diane Morrison was having an affair with her personal trainer in her hot tub while her husband traveled for work, and her husband was part of a bowling league with 3 other men from the neighborhood. Thursday evening, morning, Greg came home. I know because I heard his car pull into the driveway around 5 p.m., heard the door slam, heard raised voices from inside the house, muffled but unmistakably angry. Then, around 7:30 p.m., someone from his bowling league stopped by. David Chen, no relation to my lawyer Michael, lived 2 streets over, retired accountant, had known Greg for years. I wasn't there for the conversation, but I can imagine how it went. The awkward pause. The "hey man, I need to tell you something." The moment when Greg's world fell apart. At 7:43 p.m., Greg's silver Audi peeled out of the driveway, suitcase in the back seat, Diane chasing him down the street in her bathrobe, and me, standing on my front lawn with the hose, watching it all unfold. Diane came to my door 3 times in the following week. The first time, she was still in shock, crying, begging, offering to pay for new hedges. Mature ones. From a nursery, I'll cover everything. Mature hedges that size would cost at least $15,000, I told her, and they wouldn't be my father's hedges, they'd just be plants. The second time, she was angry, screaming about how I'd deliberately destroyed her life and how she was going to sue me for everything I had. For what? I asked. Removing hedges from my own property? At your demand? With a lawyer's letter as documentation? She didn't have an answer for that. The third time, she brought Kyle Danner with her, the personal trainer. Apparently, they were now publicly a couple, since the secret was out anyway. "We want to make things right," Kyle said, like he had any standing to speak. "Diane's going through a really hard time. Her husband filed for divorce. She's losing the house. We just want to find a solution." "The solution was right there for 15 years, I said. "It was called a hedge. You wanted it gone. It's gone." I closed the door. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. I know because Diane's name appeared in the county court records. Public information, easily searchable. Greg Morrison v. Diane Morrison, case number 2024, DR 00847. Grounds: adultery. Under state law, adultery doesn't affect the division of assets in a no-fault divorce state, but it does affect alimony. Greg's lawyer, a shark named Patricia Wellington, 28 years of family law experience, successfully argued that Diane's marital misconduct should be considered when determining spousal support. She got nothing, 0 alimony, and because she'd quit her pharmaceutical sales job 6 months after remarrying, Greg made enough for both of them, she'd figured. She was suddenly unemployed with no income and no savings. The house sold 3 months later. I watched the moving truck pull away, watched Diane load boxes into Kyle's F-150, watched them drive off to whatever apartment they could afford on a personal trainer's salary. A young couple bought the Henderson place, now the Morrison place, now someone else's place entirely. They have a golden retriever and a baby on the way. Nice people, normal people. They asked me about the empty space along the property line, the dirt and wood chips where something obviously used to grow. "Hedges," I told them. "There used to be hedges there. You might want to plant some new ones, for privacy." They nodded, said they'd think about it. I hope they do. I planted a tree in my backyard last spring. Japanese maple, small but beautiful, positioned where I can see it from my kitchen window every morning. I think my dad would have liked it. He was always one for growing things, for building things that would outlast him. The tree will never replace the hedges. Nothing could, but it's something new, something that's mine. I still think about Diane sometimes. Wonder if she's happy with Kyle. Wonder if she ever thinks about what she lost and why she lost it. Probably not. People like Diane don't do self-reflection. They do blame. She probably tells everyone who'll listen that I destroyed her marriage, that I deliberately humiliated her, that I'm a monster who ruined her life out of spite. But here's the thing. I didn't destroy anything. I just removed a barrier. What was behind that barrier was her doing, not mine. Her choices, her actions, her consequences. I just gave her exactly what she asked for. She wanted the hedges gone. They're gone. My father used to say that fences make good neighbors, that clear boundaries and mutual respect are the foundations of any community. He was right, but he left out one thing. Fences and hedges can also hide what's really happening on the other side. They can create the illusion of respectability while something rotten grows in the dark. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is tear down the wall and let the sunlight in, even if what it illuminates isn't pretty. Diane demanded I remove my ugly hedges or face legal action, so I removed them completely. Every last branch, every last root, gone in a single Saturday afternoon. Those hedges were blocking the view of her backyard from Maple Street. Now everyone could see her hot tub. And her affair. Her husband found out first. The neighborhood found out second. The divorce court found out third. I lost something I can never get back. 15 years of my father's legacy, ripped out and chipped into mulch. But Diane lost more. She lost her marriage, her house, her reputation, her comfortable life as a kept woman with a traveling husband who didn't ask questions. All because she couldn't leave well enough alone. Couldn't accept that some things, some boundaries, some barriers, some hedges exist for good reasons. I didn't plan any of this. Didn't know about the affair when I hired the landscaping crew. I just wanted the harassment to stop. Wanted to give her what she demanded so she'd leave me alone. But karma has a way of finding people, of exposing what they tried so hard to hide, of giving them exactly what they asked for, in ways they never expected. Diane asked me to tear down my hedges. I did. Everything that happened after that was her own doing. Some stories don't have heroes, just people making choices and living with the consequences. I chose to protect my father's hedges for as long as I could. When I couldn't anymore, I chose to walk away rather than fight a battle I couldn't afford to win. Diane chose to threaten and harass and bully. She chose to have an affair. She chose to conduct that affair in plain sight, relying on my property for cover. When that cover disappeared, so did her secrets. That's not revenge. That's not karma. That's just reality. Sometimes the walls that protect us also trap us. And sometimes, when those walls come down, we discover we were never as safe as we thought. Diane learned that the hard way. I learned something too. You can't control what other people do. You can only control your own choices, your own boundaries, your own property. Speaking of which, I'm thinking about planting new hedges this spring. Different ones. A memorial garden, maybe, with my father's favorite plants. Something that grows toward the light instead of blocking it. Something that's mine. She wanted those hedges gone. She got what she wanted. Funny how that works out sometimes.